You hear it all the time from fans, coaches, the internet. Go get you a Marcus Smart. Or I wish I had a whole team full of Marcus Smarts. Smart, of course, is not the best player on the Celtics roster or even an all-star, but he is Boston's heart and hustle. So it was a big deal last night when he began screaming loudly enough inside the postgame locker room for those standing outside to hear, when there was heavy clanging and banging and then finally Smart exiting the locker room cursing. And I don't want to make what happened last night into some cataclysmic event the Celtics chemistry will never recover from. If you've been around the NBA long enough, or heck, even if you just watched The Last Dance, you have frankly seen dozens of these kinds of tirades after emotional losses. But what Smart did last night matters because the Celtics are now down 0-2 to the Heat in these Eastern Conference Finals, thanks to blown double-digit leads in each game. And if no one in the Boston locker room gets angry about that now, by the time they do, it will be too late. Take a look at just last night's second half. Boston was up by 13 and then literally began to give the game away with turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover. 7 in just the third quarter alone. The Celtics scored a grand total of 4 baskets in that window. On the other side, forget the rest of the Heat, just Bam Adebayo hit 7. By the way, I was the sideline reporter for last game.
Such a swing. You guys came into this half with a 13-point lead. What happened?
Well, we stopped playing on both ends.
Yeah, that went well. To Brad's credit, he did answer my second question more thoroughly, talking about what the Celtics had to do differently to close this game. The problem is that his team did not then go do any of those things. The Celtics seem to have little answer to the Heat playing zone, something that could hardly be categorized as a surprise or a gimmick, since Miami did it more this past season than any other team in the NBA, by a lot. And in the final minutes, with everything on the line, it was the Heat who did all the hustling. Watch Jimmy Butler poke the ball from Kemba Walker, then dive to the sideline to keep the possession, then keep going toward the basket to receive the ball back for 2. Then with about 90 seconds to go, Butler again breaking up the inbounds. Another 2 comes right here for Miami. Or watch this with about 30 seconds on the clock. Jay Crowder misses. There are 4 Boston jerseys under the basket, but guess who comes up with the ball? And you wonder why Marcus Smart was upset? The Athletic reported that at one point in the locker room, it was Smart and Jaylen Brown who were really getting into it, with teammates having to separate them. But no one says that the two ever actually got physical. And ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that, in fact, by later in the night, Smart, Brown, Kemba, and Jason Tatum all met with Stevens to get back on the same page. Obviously, even in the arena post-game, it seemed like Brown could appreciate where Smart was coming from.
You know, he plays with passion. He's full of fire. And that's what I love about him most, to be honest. You know, he has that desire and that will, and we need him to continue to have that, you know. It's ups and downs with families all the time, but, you know, we embrace each other for who we are.
You know, the irony in all of this is that it's the Heat who this season have been open about the fact that they yell at each other all the time. In fact, here is Jimmy Butler from just last night.
We look each other in the eye and we tell each other when we're on some BS. Spoke's gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, Jay's gonna do it, Tyler's gonna do it, Duncan's gonna do it, all the way down the line.
You know how everyone's been saying they'd love a team full of Marcus Smarts? It seems like there actually already is one in this series. It's just that so far, that team is not the Celtics. It's the Miami Heat. Richard, this post-game argument that the Celtics had, do you think it is helpful or hurtful to the team as they move forward in the Eastern Conference Finals?
1,000% helpful. Now, if this was after one game, if this was game 1, then you could be like, okay, this is a little overreaction. But understand this. Go back and look at how they've played over the last 2 series. Up 2-0, blow a lead that allows for Toronto to win that game. They should have been up 3-0. Then that series goes to 7. So they squeak that out, and now they're here down 0-2 with blown leads in the second half. They need a fire injection, right? Look. Kemba Walker can say, look, I need to play better. I've been playing terrible. He's trying to motivate himself and trying to tell his teammates that he's locked in. Then they lose again, and then Marcus Smart is basically like, hey, this is unacceptable. We've seen it with Draymond Green. We've seen it with players throughout history. We saw it in The Last Dance. If you're going to be on a great team, there's going to be conflict. There was conflict in the Cavs. There's conflict with Shaq and Kobe. There's always conflict on great teams. It doesn't mean that it needs to be negative. It just means that you got to fire up sometimes.
Honestly, to me, everybody was in character here, Rachel and Richard. I know Marcus very well. His passion is his greatest strength and sometimes his biggest weakness. I love this. Now, maybe it could have been done a little differently. I don't know what went inside. I don't know what kind of things Marcus Smart threw. Maybe some of them were inappropriate. But I like that he did it. This is who he is. I also like Jaylen Brown clapping back and saying, hey, 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 we've got to stay together. Also in character. Remember, it was a young Jaylen Brown that had the courage to clap back at Kyrie Irving when he was singling out the younger players. Now, some people have said to me today, where's Kemba Walker in this? Isn't he the leader? Kemba Walker is the king of positivity. To ask him to all of a sudden get Clint Eastwood on everybody or Jack Nicholson, that's unauthentic. And he doesn't do that. He's the king of positivity. He will stay that. Jason Tatum puts his head down and plays harder. All four of their biggest players, their top players, to me, were right in character. And I can tell you this, too, that when Jaylen Brown was struggling at the beginning of last year, his biggest supporter, his unwavering supporter, was Marcus Smart. Trust me, these guys are fine.
Absolutely. Jackie, knowing what you know about all of those individual personalities, what do you think that late-night meeting with Brad Stevens was like that was reported out?
I'm sure it was more about Marcus Smart saying, we can't have 3-on-nones. We can't have these guys going to the basket. We got to play harder. We got to be more physical. It's Kemba telling the young guys, because he's been a great mentor to both of them, you guys can't put your head down now. You've got to keep doing what you're doing. I will be better. And Brad Stevens saying to all of them, the effort has to be there. I can accept missed shots. I can accept an occasional missed defensive assignment, but I cannot accept lack of effort. I cannot accept getting beat on the boards. I cannot accept 3-on-nones in any playoff.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.